At the inception, 140 years ago, of the founding of the Mosaic Templars of America organization was the notion of agency. Agency is having the capacity to direct your own thoughts and behavior in pursuit of liberty and freedom.
Arkansas history and Black history are woven together as one. The binds of the past are inextricable from the bonds of the present. For even before our chains were broken, our forefathers and mothers carried a hope, a faith identical to which we carry today. And Arkansas, the land of opportunity, it was through the Mosaic Templars of America 140 years ago that the promise of opportunity, of progress, of freedom was fought and hard won right here on 9th Street, Little Rock, 1883.
When I think about Bush and Keats, and I step back and think about how did two formerly enslaved Black men create an international society that helped Black people in our country during a time without so many tools that we take for granted today, that tells me we should always be motivated that anything is possible if we're willing to work hard, have vision, drive, and work collaboratively together, that this building stands as an eternal monument to that level of determination and commitment and spirit of excellence.
140 years ago, the weaving together of a story of perseverance and tenacity, a foundation that is laid brick by brick. A temple, a home is built. They named it after the souls brought forth by bondage. Mosaic of Moses. John Bush and Chester Keats bringing to life a coalition to protect Black livelihood, the Mosaic Templars of America.
Booker T. Washington's approach was more like Black people got to help yourselves first. You may or may not get the majority population's support in your efforts, but that doesn't control what you do. You do it yourself. The Mosaic Templars of America reflects that because it was built and made at a time by Black people, for Black people, and that says something.
Entrepreneurial spirit, that kind of touched on what the Mosaic Templars of America were about African Americans coming together and creating their own businesses and providing for their own people when other organizations were not willing to do that.
And it really is true. You would go in that space and it was almost like having a mystical experience. You could there was a almost haunting feeling about that place. You felt like it was really almost a sacred place. You were almost moved to tears.
This is almost like a building with breathing to me. And you come in here, you really can feel the spirit to me of the original members of the organization.
I think it is so vitally important that the contributions of legendary individuals from across the state is recognized, is celebrated.
Self-reliance, protection, preservation of life, and property. The mission grows, becoming one of the largest Black-owned businesses in the world. An international community, the business thrives, but as time changes, the mission changes. The Mosaic Templars fall back, until in Little Rock, only the building remains.
The building was in decay during my entire lifetime because it had been taken from the hands of the Black community, didn't own it or have even a minor possessory interest in it.
125 years later, another coalition is formed, the Mosaic Templars Building Preservation Society. Their role, protecting the stories of those who protected countless Black men, women, and children, bringing their history to life.
As far as the effort to create the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center, the credit for that really belongs to John Kane. And he was really the father of the whole movement to create the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center.
He left and came back, and went to the military. He came back to see buildings had disappeared, just evaporated, erased. And he was outraged, like many community members were at the time. And he could see that the essence of the community was disappearing.
So you basically had Black community leaders, historic preservationists, a few historians like me participating in the effort. It was out of those meetings that the Mosaic Templars Building Preservation Society was first organized, and it was later incorporated in January 19th, 1993. But it was definitely a community grassroots organization.
It wasn't a very difficult process. People believed in the mission, they believed in the work, and so it was just a matter of asking.
Marty and Tamika asked if I would participate in the course. I said no, and they looked at me like I was an idiot. I'd say, well, how in the world are you not going to participate? So I said, okay, I'll participate, and then I did the best I could. And it just didn't seem possible, this being Arkansas and this being Little Rock, that they could come together to redo that. But doggone if they didn't. They came, the state participated in that. The Black Caucus directed it, and the City of Little Rock, the Department of Arkansas Heritage. I just never thought all those groups and stuff could come together for that, but they did. First couple of years, man, there were people from all over the planet, seemed like to me, were coming out from everywhere to support the idea. It was unbelievable.
But just as this important mission begins, the tapestry is cut, and only threads remain.
Early in the morning hours of March 16th, 2005, a fire broke out.
I remember I received a call from a friend of mine who was out walking early in the morning, and he called me and woke me up and said, hey man, John, the building is on fire.
A year before, in 2004, I lost my mother. And it's indelible in my mind. It was like losing another family member. You can't calculate the dimension of loss. It's profound. I wept for days. I couldn't even speak. I wasn't functioning. I think we were all in shock for some months.
We then went over to see Miss Carpenter, who had been our spiritual guide during this whole process. She was the chair of our Mosaic Templars Preservation Society at the time, and cried. She hugged us. I remember saying, how could this happen? And she's a very spiritual woman. So I said, Ms. Carpenter, how could the Lord let something like this happen? And she said, well, the Lord has a plan. It'll work out. And I said, Ms. Carpenter, if the Lord has a plan, I certainly can't imagine what it is. And Ms. Carpenter said to me, you couldn't handle it if you did know the plan. I'll never forget that.
But like a phoenix, from the ashes, we rise.
there were no small miracles. For example, the cornerstone contents that sat for the wreckage of the building, you know, the charred ruins of the building stayed in place. I don't want to speak in hyperbole, but it was months. In other words, 1913, when they dedicated the building, they put some tremendous artifacts that would otherwise not exist in the cornerstone. And the cornerstone had the equivalent of a thin layer of cardboard after the fire.
Luckily, Tommy Jameson had the architectural plans for the original building, and we kept pushing and pushing, and finally they gave in and said, okay, we will build as authentic a reconstruction as we can with these plans. And that's when this building came up, and it was almost a miracle that, you know, the thing rose from the ashes, and we were able to move in.
September 2008, the museum opens. Mosaic Templars Cultural Center, protecting the stories of those who protected countless men, women, and children, bringing their history to life, taking up those tattered threads and weaving new ones, stories with voices from the past and the present.
We don't have a building like this anywhere else in the state. So this was our opportunity to let people know about the past, the present, and the future of the African American community, to inspire and grow and help the next generation. My connection to the Mosaic Templars Cultural Center starts with my grandmother, Ellen Turner Carpenter. She was so happy that all the work was coming into fruition. And she, I know, wanted to live long enough to see that it happened. And she did.
I did not prepare a long speech or a long sermon. These are the words that I want you to remember on this day, September 20th, 2008. Remember, we made it. Yeah.
Now, 15 years later, a new chapter is written in the story of the Mosaic Templars of America.
15 years of MTCC and 140 years of Mosaic Templars of America. It means that you can overcome even in the face of adversity. You can still thrive, you can still find, you can still triumph, you can do so many things, and the legacy can continue to go on and more people can learn about that. For me, it's a symbol of strength and truth and pride. It's history, it's life, it's stories, it's people, everything.
I view Mosaic Templars as a part of my personal family history. For those of us that have holes and gaps in our story, just by being able to come here to learn, to experience the programs, it helps boost not only your connection, but your sense of pride, your sense of belonging, your sense of place by just learning this information. So even though you may have gaps in your own personal story, like I do, this place helps fill those spaces. So for me, I have been passionate about supporting and fighting for this very special place, because it is very special to me. Very special to me.